So I'm born and raised in Delano, California, and my family, all of my family, were plank members of the UFW. My uncle
Great.
Richard Chavez designed the Union flag and designed the 40 acres. The center, the Union hiring hall, and the clinic, the first clinic that we had there, in the gas station. So the very first doctor that I ever remember going to was through the Union. We had a trailer, and there were doctors and nurses that would come and volunteer their time. So my mother was a striker, and so were my aunts. They worked in the grapes in the fields. And my mother worked in the cuadrilla with Helen Chavez, Caesar's wife. And so, we were all a community there in Delano. And so I grew up in the Union, going to the picket lines and then going with my mother on the buses to Los Angeles when we were supporting like Robert Kennedy when he ran for president, and other candidates that were running, the first Latino candidates, because Caesar knew that it was important that we were going to have to get Latinos elected in order to change anything in Sacramento, to change any laws. So farm workers that were on strike we would first go on the buses to LA to do the Safeway boycott. And then as we got involved in politics and civic engagement, we would go and talk to, Latinos about getting registered to vote and how important their vote was so that we could really make changes. And that us in the Central Valley, it was important that we can get Latinos elected. And as the union grew and as people became more conscientious through the education of the union and how we needed to participate, some of the hijos de los campesinos went to college, and then those became our first, like Richard Polanco and some of the others, became our first elected officials. So I grew up, like I said, and we had an alternative after school program called the Huelga School, which was manned by volunteers because our parents were at the strike all day. So they would come and pick us up after school and would help us with our schoolwork. So my whole education, I could say, came from the union.